What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. I'm gonna do an episode of "You Said It Best, Brother" today. It's been, about a year and a half, I think, since I've done this one. I thought I did the last one. If you didn't check out the project between today and a year and a half ago, Stream Kings, with my boy Danny D, you definitely should. It's good, a lot of fun. Had a lot of fun with that. But I figured I'd hop back on here. Maybe I can do both. As you know, Danny D or you may not know, Danny D and I had taken a little bit of a break. Haven't had a podcast here for several months now, and we took a break between that too. So I kind of just got like the itch, and I thought with this month being lots of different things, Pride Month for one. So which love that, but also June is Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. So felt like it would be a good month to talk about that. So just be transparent. Like, I have some stuff planned. I've got some notes over here on the side, but I may just pop back and forth and just kind of say whatever's on my mind a little bit too. So so definitely a different structure today. Not as straightforward, not as just like, hey, this is what's going on. But figure we'd have fun. Sorry, I'm moving you guys closer to the camera. Boop. There we go. I find myself always looking at myself sometimes and not up at the camera. So I don't know, it's weird. I also do it on Zoom calls, FaceTime. I feel like people do that, right? Does everybody just look directly at the person they're talking to, or do you look at yourself sometimes? I know I look at myself, but because I don't know, I get worried about what I look like. Weird. Anyways, so today I'm talking a little bit just about some of my experiences the last year, just mental health journey, anxiety and panic, and some of that kind of stuff. So just kind of just being transparent here, just talking about stuff. I don't think I'm gonna cry. Probably shouldn't, but as I talked about, sometimes I've just cried about random things over the last year. So who knows? So kicking it off, I think I've always been a little bit anxious. I remember watching TikToks a couple years ago about oh, you might be high functioning anxiety and I was like, oh wow, this sounds a lot like me. These are things that I do, but then didn't think anything about it. I didn't really know what anxiety was. I knew people talked about it, and people kind of throw that out a lot. It's hey, this is something that I have. I'm anxious all the time, and I think there's reality to that, but I think sometimes if you haven't experienced it, then you don't really know what that means. So I don't know. I also haven't always been the most in tune with my emotions, and I think that kind of has led to some of this stuff over the last year. So well, going back, so always a little bit anxious, probably very high functioning, I think, anyway. So and then I knew that something was up. I think it was 3 years ago now. 2022, I started going to therapy a little bit. I haven't gone the whole time, right? But I did start in 2022. I felt like it was a good idea. A lot of things going on. I changed jobs in 2021 because I felt like I was getting overwhelmed at the job that I was at. My grandfather passed away on my mom's side, and I think that impacted me probably more than I knew, and just a myriad of things, honestly. So started going to therapy in 2022. That was kind of my first exposure to trying to slow down and think. One of the things that my old therapist talked about was stop, think, act. Not to be super impulsive with things, but that way, if you stop, think, and act, you're stopping the process and actually think about what you're doing, and why you're doing the things you're doing, and why you're thinking, and why you're feeling the way that you're feeling. All of those things, right? It just helps you stop, helps you think and process. I think that was really beneficial, and I'll talk about some of the benefits I think of that later on. But just kind of, again, story journey's sake. So, and then kind of just like went through the next few years. I went from one high stress job in operations leadership to another high stress job in operations leadership. So went from Universal, then went to Disney. Still in like merchandise. So I didn't do myself any favors there necessarily. But with that, it's a high stress job, but also like wasn't taking care of myself, just full transparency. Like, I've told people this, so I'm telling the internet world now. So, smoking, I was vaping a lot, and I was doing some other things as well. Nothing like, not other things like, nothing crazy, but, like nicotine was a big thing. Probably some alcohol abuse as well. And if I'm being honest, none of this intentionally though, right? I wasn't like, man, I had a really like crappy day and I just need to go home and like pound a 6-pack of something, right? That wasn't something that came to my mind, but it's like, oh, I'm off today. Let me go like, just go drink or something, right? And I think there's time and a place for some of those things for sure, and in moderation, right? But I'd say, looking back, there's probably opportunities there to probably to cut some of those things out. So again, never consciously like using those things to cope or anything like that, but I think kind of just to numb myself and to get through some of those just like negative emotions, some of the burnout, some of the uncomfortable situations and things that I was in. Nothing like I say some of these things like, right, if you just hear that, it's like they were just uncomfortable to me, right? It's like I'm not a big like confrontation and conflict guy. So, if I was like thrown into like breaking up a fight or something like that at work, something petty, whatever, it's like that was never really something that I like enjoyed. I don't know a lot of people who like love that, right? But to cope with those emotions, I think, and like the way that my body learned to get through it was just like, hey, let me do other things. Let me like different substances or whatever. So again, that's looking back. Like again, I didn't know any of that stuff really. So came to about yeah, so that was going on for probably a couple years. Yeah. And then last summer, so not like anything to do with this particular day necessarily, but it was it was my old roommate's birthday. We were going out for, or at least his birthday dinner. I don't remember if it was his actual birthday or not, but I remember it was like a normal day, just like like a normal Friday for me, which would typically constitute going to the Coliseum of Comics, going to the game store, getting some Magic the Gathering cards because I'm a nerd. Maybe going to World of Beer for lunch. They have some good deals on Fridays, so good stuff. And I think I had like a beer that day, so nothing crazy. And then some video games and whatever. And we went out to dinner with my friends. And that night had a Rain energy drink and played some Call of Duty with the boys. So a lot of different things going on. But things I didn't mention there is like that week or the week prior, one of my uncles had a heart attack. One of my cousins was diagnosed with cancer. I went to the doctor for the first time in like 2 years and think that I had gotten like my blood pressure reading was high, and I got a little nervous and anxious about that. And then on that Friday, like I had did the blood tests, and I had gotten all my blood test readings back except for HIV, and I was like, well, I don't think I've done anything that would like get me HIV, but that's not where my mind went that day. My mind was like, why would they withhold this information from me? So I remember sitting there that Friday night playing Call of Duty with my boys on like 300 milligrams of caffeine after everything that had like gone on that day, just which again, pretty normal day, but all of these other things that have been processed or trying to be processed in my head, and just like starting to just get in my head, starting to panic a little bit about like, wait, like why would they not tell me this, guys? Am I gonna be HIV positive? Like what's going on, and like in my mind just kind of like thought about it for a while and kind of like stopped there, got off, went to sleep, woke up like an hour and a half later, and my heart was racing, my heart was pounding, and all I could think about was that I was gonna die, that like something was gonna happen, and like something what wrong was going on with my heart. And this kind of went for probably an hour and a half until about like 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. And I remember it got to the point where like I felt so uncomfortable and so nervous and so just like overwhelmed. I was sitting in this chair in my old apartment, and just like I was at the point where I felt like I was gonna die. I was terrified, and I had my phone in my hand with the 911 like dialed, and like it was in that moment where like my hands were tingly, like down to my spine, and it felt like something just like, I don't know if you so found out this was a panic attack. It's my first one. If you've never had a panic attack, you don't want to have one. If you've had one, you know what I'm talking about. Where it just feels like everything inside you is just like, and there's like electricity going through you. So it was like literally all through my arms, through my spine. I was terrified, and I ended up calling 911, and I thought I had a heart attack. I didn't know what it was like. I didn't know what a heart attack was. Um, I looked at the internet like 30 times. I'd taken like so many readings on my like watch about like an ECG, which we love Apple Watch. We love what it can do, but it's limited, let me tell you. So I can't tell you everything, nor should it be like what you use to like diagnose different things. But I was fine. I checked out. Everything was okay. Like no readings of anything like super negative, but that was a pretty scary experience. Like I'm not going to throw this out lightly, because I know that it means a lot more in a lot of more intense situations. But looking back and talking about it like with therapists and stuff like that, like it almost felt a little bit like the last year kind of been dealing with, honestly, just getting over that moment of what that felt like, because that was just such a unique experience to me. And even though in my head I know that it was okay, it didn't always feel like that, right? Still sometimes in my head it's like, man, like this is something, like something's wrong. And I kind of sat on that for a couple weeks. Went back to work. It's like Sunday, like nothing happened basically. Well, I told people I had a panic attack. I think that's really about it. But yeah, it kind of just like went a couple weeks. I remember having another like mini panic attack. I was having just like random like chest pains and stuff like that kind of after. Like it was my first time like really feeling anxiety and just that stress and panic and everything. And it didn't really like go away necessarily. I didn't really know how to deal with it. So I remember sitting in Twisters, the new movie that came out last year, which is fantastic. I ended up enjoying the movie, but I remember just sitting down in the theater, and just like the preview started, and I was just like, I need to get up. I need to go. And I have a great friend who has dealt with some of that on her own, and she got up with me and like walked with me through AMC with me, and made me feel comfortable. Just kind of like helped me get through. She gave me some like hand sanitizer, helped me like, I think it was lavender, I believe. So, but she it helped me through that. But in looking back, that was like a mini panic attack probably, or just anxiety. I don't really know. I still don't know 100%. But and then last straw kind of for me was going to another movie. I think some of those like tight spaces made me uncomfortable. Turns out probably. I was super uncomfortable through a lot of the Deadpool movie. It was a good movie, but I didn't feel good through it. And got to the point where after I got out of that, I was like, I need to go to the ER. I just need to make sure that everything's fine. And turns out everything was fine. So again, they did some tests, they checked some things out, and they were like, all right, nope, even with your years of like smoking and probably abusing alcohol a little bit, like everything looks good, everything's fine. Yeah, you're good. So, which was refreshing, but it didn't really make me feel that much better. It wasn't like wasn't like every weight in the world was just lifted, right? Like I still had a lot of things that I had to deal with. So, like just through the last year. So again, I told you like this isn't as put together and as like straightforward as some other stuff. This is kind of like some of my experiences like last summer, specifically, and just kind of like what I was feeling. Some things that just kind of that I've learned, I guess, over the last year, through lots of different things, and I'll talk about some of those. Is like it's okay to have anxious thoughts. It's okay to be anxious. It's just a feeling, and it's part of you, right? So like I think anxiety is kind of like defined as like basically your body's defense mechanism, right? Like anxiety in and of itself is just your body trying to like make sure that you're okay and responding to threats, perceived or real. And for me, a lot of the stuff I dealt with last year was perceived threats. So not anything real that was like actually present. It doesn't make the feeling any less real though, and dealing with it and acknowledging it is always super important. Like I think the Inside Out 2 movie came out also last summer, and it didn't really mean anything to me. Like when I first watched it, I was like, oh, interesting, because this was like pre-panic attack. But then I went back and rewatched it, and I was like, oh, wow, okay, yeah, this is like, I get that. This is like what I'm experiencing, right? So I thought, hey, go watch that movie if you haven't. But, like they introduced anxiety, the emotion, because it's a real emotion, and it's there. Sorry, I'm doing some stretches. I worked out, did chest yesterday, and like super tight here. So here we go. So yeah, it's okay to have anxious thoughts. It's okay to be anxious. It's part of you. So process it, think about it, deal with it. And it's okay to be stressed. So I got an Oura ring about a month ago, month and a half maybe. I don't remember. It's been over a month because I can't return it anymore. So I know that for sure, even if I wanted to. Sorry, I'm going to grab a sip of water. So one really cool thing about this ring, not a paid sponsor, just throwing this out there. Although if they wanted to be, I would do it. I'm volunteering if they want me to do it. But yeah, so one of the things that the Oura ring can track is your stress, and I thought it was just going to be kind of an interesting thing for me. Like that's not necessarily why I got it. It was one of the reasons why I bought the ring, but I thought it'd be interesting to kind of see, like track some different things just to be aware. And it was this realization hit me. So I work at Universal. I work at Epic Universe, and I picked up an escort shift. So escorts, what we call like the people that hang out with the entertainment characters that run around in the park. So I was hanging out with Igor one day out in the park, out in Dark Universe, which was fantastic. Love it. It was a fantastic opportunity. Incredible. But I loved it, and I went home that day, and my ring told me that I was stressed like the whole day. And I was like, wait, I feel good though. And like the app that goes with the ring is incredible, right? Because it'll even tell you, said, hey, stress is not necessarily a bad thing. It could mean something. It could be something really positive. It could be an overwhelmingly positive emotion as well, right? So but regardless of what kind of stress, because it could also be like not like, I don't want to say like bad, but it could be a bad thing, right? Something that's really weighing on you, whatever. But the important thing, and I've learned this over the last several weeks as well, is like how you recover from that, and being intentional about like, all right, like, yeah, your body's in a high stress situation, good or bad, like your body does need to rest and recuperate. So getting sleep, which been one of my goals this year, is to just get more sleep, taking care of myself. But that aside, it's like, it was okay for me to do that. Like, I'm not going to avoid doing other escort shifts or going to a restaurant. Like, I went on a date last month, and like I had a good time on the date, but it was in like a kind of crowded, loud space. I was anxious because of the date. It was like date number like 2, 3, whatever, and so there was some pressure with that, and just like all the noise and everything. Like I was overwhelmed. I was stressed, but doesn't mean I'm not gonna do those things, right? Like, hey, I don't want to, like, I'm not gonna sit in my house like 24 hours a day, right? So it's how you balance it, and it's being intentional, taking care of yourself, loving yourself, and finding what you enjoy. I watched a YouTube video last week about like hobbies and how our people, not our people, but people my age, like generation wise, like we're kind of losing hobbies and things that we actually enjoy doing. And um, I think it's important for us to find what chills us out, whether it be watching movies or gardening or knitting, like, you know, writing poetry or playing video games, whatever that is, right? You know, finding some sort of outlet that helps makes you feel more comfortable and recharges you, right? Truly helps you like kind of recover from those stressful moments. So encourage everybody to do that. I'm still learning 100% for me. I do love movies. I'm learning that I do like video games still, but like I'm learning that I don't always love like the games that I was playing, like a lot of Call of Duty, like a lot of the shooting games, you know, those kind of stressed me out too, and not necessarily in a good way. And if I'm trying to recharge, that might not be the best thing for me. So when my buddies are texting me to get on, I'm like, I don't want to play that game. Sorry. I'm going to play this one player game. Like there's this meme out there, and it's like the Andor guys. I forget their names right now, but it said, "You a like first person, you're you know first player one player games," and then the other guy's Galen Erso, and he's like, "Yeah, it's a peaceful life." And there's pictures of like all of these other one person video games around. Anyways, that's total tangent there, but it's okay to be stressed. That's what I'm trying to say. But find some things that you enjoy. And just like being in tune with emotions, just like taking a second to like process things. So there was a period of time, kind of like post panic attack, you know, I've done much better with like nicotine and alcohol and things like that. But I was also on some medication for a little while where I like couldn't drink at all. Where I, you know, and I not completely free of nicotine. I've been much better. I think like occasionally like I've stumbled and things like that, but nothing crazy. And it's not something that I use on a regular basis. But I kind of texted one of my other buddies. I was like, you know, it feels like without all of these things in my life, I'm like just like raw dogging my emotions. I'm just going through life, just feeling everything, right? And for a while, it was like really overwhelming. And I mentioned earlier, like just like bawling. So I remember driving. I still went to the comic store on my days off. So I remember I was driving to the comic store, and "Wishing Well" by Juice WRLD came on, and there's a line. It said, "This is the part when I tell you I'm fine, but I'm lying. I just don't want you to worry." And like I was like, oh my gosh, like, you know, just because I think for a long time, like, that's the kind of facade that I put on, not just to, like, the people that cared about me, but to anybody. It's like, I just wanted to put on that facade that everything was okay, that I was good, and that like, negative emotions didn't exist. Like, you know, and yeah, I cried. I was bawling in the car. Like, it was great. And I listened to the song again because I was like, actually, this was nice to be able to just like feel, you know, to actually feel. And I think that's been one of the cool things over the last year, just like being in tune with positive, negative emotion, all of it, you know, like, because that's the thing with emotions, right? Like, you need all of it. You need positive, you need the negative, you need yeah, you can't just go through life with just the positive. So, I don't know. Yeah, be in tune, process things. I started journaling a little bit more here recently, just kind of like writing down some of my thoughts, and it's good to get those out sometimes because even for me, like I just like don't always process things even in the moment, but sometimes like sitting down at the end of the day just writing about it, it's like, oh, okay, all right, yeah, okay, I didn't like that, or oh, I really enjoyed that, you know, like that was really positive. So yeah, those are some of the big takeaways, some recent and some over the year, but a lot of it took some time, right? So some things that I've kind of like, again, I guess tried and gone through the last year. So I mentioned this earlier. I was on medication for a little while. I think that, you know, I believe in medicine. I believe in like things that help make us get better from whatever. And in this case, I was on some medication, and it was great. It was a big help. It was something that my doctor and I agreed was not going to be permanent. It could have been, but I didn't feel like it was really necessary for me. And I know for some people it is something that they like need long term. But for me, kind of used it as a way to get like reestablish a baseline, right? As I think I was on for like a month and a half, maybe 2 months. But it helped me kind of like start to regulate things a little bit more. It helped like things slow down a little bit where I could start thinking about things and processing and kind of like, getting to where like I understood what I was feeling and what I was thinking. And kind of got to the end and I was like, I think, because I was still feeling anxious, some even on the medication. And I was like, not that the medication isn't working, but I was like, I feel like the next step for me is to get off and just to like actually feel everything. So yeah, I kind of like weaned off, with doctor's orders and everything. Like he was like, yeah, it's cool. I think it'd be fine if you started to get off it. And then I think that was like the best process for me. So, but was on medication for a little while. Big help. Meditating. So I am now using the app called Calm. Not a paid sponsor, but again, if they wanted to be, like, I'm not saying no, I get it free through my employer. So Universal and sponsors that. When I was with Disney, they offered Headspace. So there's a lot of different apps out there. I think they cost like $5. I think with the Aura Ring, one of the parts of the paid subscription is actually like not direct access to Headspace. But like if it's noticed that I'm in like a stressed point and I've been there for a while, it will actually like recommend. It'll take me to kind of like some different Headspace meditations and everything. But starting my day, not like the very first thing because I eat first because I'm hungry in the morning. But one of the first things I do is I meditate, and it's only like a couple minutes, but just doing some breathing exercises. But different things that I've done, kind of like some different things in different moments, right? Like there's I think one of my other favorites on here is like a panic and anxiety one where I'm really just starting to feel overwhelming like panic and anxiety, and it helps me like slow down and think and just really get like re-ground myself. So, but overall, like been super helpful. Lots of different things on there, lots of resources, and I don't fully utilize it, but again, check and see what your employer gets, because even if you're not feeling anxious and that's been a big growing thing for me, because there were weeks where I would feel like good, like I'd feel like fine, like where my body was like, oh well, okay, and then weeks where I'd be like like it feels like my body's gonna explode. And it's weird, little tangent, my anxiety and like where it like manifested physically it was like a rotation, right? So it'd be like in my left foot would be kind of like numb or like tingly, which is weird. And then it would go to like chest. Sometimes I get like sharp, like little like doo, or like doo, doo, something like that. And then it would go to like my ear, to where like my ear wouldn't like fully, like I still get sometimes like this where it's just like kind of sharp pains and stuff like that, and kind of like some numbness over here. I thought I was having a stroke. I called the doctor for that too, and he's like, "You're not having a stroke. You're just anxious. It can definitely manifest itself that way." I was like, oh, okay, cool. So, learned a lot about like medical stuff in the last year, but I forgot what I was gonna say. Oh, yes. So, but it's good to like do these things, meditate, no matter how you're feeling, good, bad, whatever. So, therapy. I talked about this. It's been really good. I'm no longer seeing a therapist. I kind of just like didn't last time I was supposed to see him, and I haven't gone back. Not that I don't think it would be beneficial still, but I think I'm like just in a good spot where I don't necessarily need that at the moment. But it's been beneficial again. So 2022, I saw it after my grandfather passed away, and that was good to just kind of process some different things, whether it be about him or like just different family things, right? And then this past year, just a lot about like my anxiety and my panic and just in like different moments. And one of the biggest things that he told me, and I still think about this, is distressing does not equal dangerous, right? So, kind of like reframing my mind, and everybody's different, right? Like that's what I needed, but that's a tidbit of wisdom that I don't know if everybody, like, I don't know, like, I don't know what you guys need. I don't know what other people need, but you never know when somebody might say something that's like, man, like that's super valuable. Like I'm gonna go see what's out there, and maybe I'll find a nice tidbit of information. Maybe yours is like, I don't know, I'm not even gonna try to make something cool up because I'm not a therapist. So I'm a psych minor, but not a therapist. But they're unbiased, right? They give advice. They ask the tough questions, like actually ask how you are, right? And I think one valuable thing for sure is like there's no like real fear, at least not for me, no fear of like judgment, because these people don't know me. Like they're getting some credit from Universal that says like, oh yeah, like he's, he's good to go. We're paying for him to go, so like it's okay. Not that Universal is paying, but EAP, to benefit from a lot of companies, and that's what I've used. So I forget what it stands for. Think of like Employee Assistance Plan, I think. I don't know what it stands for, but I was going to look it up, but I'm not going to do that. Use it. It's free. I think through Universal I get like 6 free sessions per topic per year, and then Disney I got like 10. So it varies by employee, but it's a great benefit that a lot of companies offer. So if you need to talk to somebody, fantastic, great resource. I would recommend. Exercise. So started exercising more. Been going to the gym. I mentioned yesterday, and hitting the chest, and did a little bit of legs too. So it just helps like get your mind off things. I think it just helps with a lot of the anxiety. Also, like it makes you healthier, so your body can handle like an anxiety attack or panic attack and things like that. I think that's a big thing as well, because over time, panic attacks and anxiety attacks, like they're okay, right? They are not an immediate like cause for distress, but over time, if you don't deal with stress, if you don't deal with anxiety, those can have negative impacts on your heart and things like that. So that is I believe, not a doctor, but what I've seen, is that's a fact. So is that it can be a detriment to your heart and your health. So if you're in better shape, you're going to be more in line to be able to handle some of those things. I should have prefaced all of this with like, I'm not diagnosing or doing anything. These are just things that I've noticed and that I have found helpful. So even a walk, like a lot of times, like if I'm feeling panic, like I think there was like a month and a half, I was just starting to feel it just randomly kind of out of nowhere, and I just went for a walk, and even that was just calming, because like kind of takes your mind off of whatever your mind is on, whatever your body is kind of like saying. It's almost like forced to like regulate itself because you're exerting yourself and you're raising your heart rate through exercise, and it's like, oh, okay, I need to walk, I need to do things. So last big thing for me has been books. So I don't have one of them here, and I haven't cursed in this podcast yet, but I can't not curse because the book's title has a curse word. But it's Don't Fucking Panic is the title. Kelsey Dara, I think is how you say it. It was really good. I found it at a little like a shop downtown Orlando, and it was really good. It's almost just like a person talking to me, and that's exactly what it was. So she's worked for like BuzzFeed and some different stuff. I think she's on like social media still, but yeah, she's someone who has dealt with panic and anxiety, and I don't know, it was very refreshing, just a lot of different things. Again, I don't have it right now because my great friend who helped me last year at the movie theater, I let them borrow it. So it's like, hey, check it out, So, but great book, great resource for sure. And there's lots of good ones out there. Another one I checked out, which this one I bought, this one's Do Not Be Anxious. by Dr. Deepa, I think Sukumar, I think is what it is. But about this at the church that I used to go to several years ago. Again, talking about like, hey, I've probably been anxious for a while. Didn't know that I was going to need it. It sat on my bookshelf for like 2 years, and then finally checked it out last year. And again, a little bit more faith based. So I felt like it was good to kind of like balance this last year, because I believe that there, how can I say, I think there are very like practical applications and some things that help us through certain situations, right? I think like again, like breathing and kind of just thinking and processing. Like I was in tears a couple weeks back off of one of the not that book, but the other book that I was reading through. It was an exercise where it was like you just like visualizing your younger self and talking to it, and I like, what would it say to you? Why would it encourage you? And it's like, oh my gosh, like that was just a very practical application. But again, me, from a faith perspective as a Christian, like that was a very helpful, like, hey, God is in control. God is taking care of like in this situation and just kind of like working through it on that side as well. So kind of like a holistic approach to this situation in different circumstances. So, but yeah, so there's just some things that I work through, right, and some stuff that that I've tried and then I've used over the last year. So, where I am now, so like, not like mental health is something you have to look at all the time, right? And that is, it's a journey. Like again, it's coming up on a year, and it was a big moment for me last year, right? And I kind of, again, that month and a half, 2, 3, 4 months, even 5, however many months afterwards, like really felt a lot of that anxiety still. And I don't want to say I'm out of the woods necessarily, because there are days where I'll go and like, I still may have a few adult beverages, and my Aura Ring will yell at me because it's like, oh, you did not the wrong thing, but like, why is your heart rate so high at nighttime? It's like, oh, I don't know, what did I do? And the next day, then I'm like, okay, like I get some of those like anxious feelings again. But it's like working through that, right? And like I think I'm in a much better place now at this time to sit back and think and be intentional about like, the things that I'm doing. So like not like abusing some of the things that I had been, or just kind of like going through life and not thinking about like my feelings and like processing things. So but even just yesterday in the gym, like I've been in the gym more, but I hit the workout pretty hard, and my heart rate went higher than it's been in a long time. Like I think it was like mid, like 165 or so, and like I started having to like breathe heavily, and I had like a mini panic attack right there, because like that was like a very mini one. Like it was quick, just like tingly and stuff like that. But it was because I was anxious and I was nervous. And I tell you, like it was probably several months, like anytime like I felt something like weird going on in my chest, like I thought I was having a heart attack, or I was gonna have a stroke and things like that. And it's like, which is nothing light to just kind of like toss off to the side, but that's a somewhat normal thing for anxiety. So where else am I? I wish that someone had told me that like stress was normal, and like or if they did tell me the stress was normal, that I had listened, because like one thing kind of like that I've changed a couple times is like my job, right? And I'm in a great job right now. I wouldn't trade it for anything, right? But like looking back is like, could I have like done differently? Could I have done better in where I was if I had taken better care of myself, if I had recovered better and actually given my body a chance to rest? Because like, it was Disney leadership life was, wasn't getting enough sleep, and not because I wasn't doing something right, but a lot of times it was just because of my work schedule, or working long days and different things, and I wasn't taking advantage of the time that I had off to actually truly rest. So Yeah. I think like learning to balance some of those things it has been really nice over time. So, but yeah, just some realization and stuff that I've had. So, again, that's really about it. Again, it wasn't as like structured as some of my other pods, but this has been a really interesting year, and I hope this is encouraging to someone. Just in like by being transparent and everything, because I feel like as people, a lot of times, I'm going to say men for Men's Health Awareness, Mental Health Awareness Month. Um, like I've lost two of my fraternity brothers. Already, I mean, at this point, I'm 32, so I'm kind of getting to that point, but it's still way too young in my eyes to have lost two people to some different things, and so it's something I'm very passionate about. Right? I think you got to take care of yourself. You need to slow down. You need to take the time to be in tune with what you need, with what your body needs, with what and like process your emotions. And that's a lot of times easier said than done, but like doing your best, reach out to people if you need help, and whether it be a friend or again not a friend. Like it could just be somebody who's on the other side of a screen or a telephone. Right, there are resources out there, and I guarantee that there's people out there who would be willing to listen. So I I think that's it. I appreciate you guys listening. I hope you guys enjoyed. Again, I hope that this is meaningful to somebody. It's something I felt like I just needed to talk about and put out there, especially as kind of approach like that, like 1 year of like again I don't say it lightly, but just of my panic attack and the things that I've experienced over the last year. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll be back. I want to do some more of my own stuff. Me and Danny D may be back as well. So, but yeah, we'll keep y'all posted. Again, appreciate y'all tuning in. Peace. What's going on, everybody? I'm back. It's probably been about like 15-20 minutes, and I'm gonna like poorly edit these two videos together. But I knew that this was gonna happen with not planning and perfectly mapping everything out, and I didn't even bother like getting into the same shirt because I just got out of the shower and that one's dirty, and I probably wouldn't edit it that well anyway. So, but like one thing I did want to kind of like expand on a little bit. I kind of like talking about like the holistic approach, like for me, and I know it's not going to be for everybody, but a little bit more like on like the faith standpoint and everything, like. That the night of my panic attack when I was sitting in this chair, like I was reading my Bible. I was like saying like the last like what, hey, I am like, take me, God. It was like that's where I was at, and like that was kind of a scary moment, but also like through the last year, like learned that like not learned, but was reminded that that God is in control. And I kind of said that earlier, kind of like mentioned it, but I believe that that I serve a good God, and that He cares for me, cares for everyone, loves everyone, and I think that kind of reframed like some of as I like read through that book, and kind of like just through my own time talking to God and everything, like just felt like there was just kind of like a reframing of how I dealt with different things. Like one of my favorite verses growing up was 1 Peter 5:7, cast all your anxieties on Him because He cares for you. And there's a reason why we can cast our anxieties on Him. We have somebody who does care for us. Like it's always good to have people around us, and I'll just mention a few here in a few minutes. But like I believe that we have a God who loves us and who we can talk to and we can go to with those things. And that doesn't mean that everything's gonna always like work out, and that I was having a conversation because I'm having a conversation with my dad about this because I have a family member in the hospital, and it's like like how do we effectively like go about like dealing with what may be like the end of somebody's life, right? How we feel it's like before it should be. And because I felt very vulnerable last year, like for the first time in my life I didn't feel invincible anymore, and where I like maybe it was like the end of my life, right? And that was scary. And but I think it's like accepting that there's a higher plan for everything. So but I think just kind of coming to terms with that, and but being at peace about it, right? Because yeah, I'll have to offline about some of those things if anybody has more questions about it. But did want to call in and say that, and then also just like one big thing for me in the last year or two that I did want to mention was just thankfulness. That's been really big, of just like taking moments of just being thankful, even for the small things. Like, I now live in an apartment by myself, and like being thankful for that, opportunity, and being thankful for the job that I'm in, being thankful for my parents, like my mom, like just like texting me like verses and things like that, especially like kind of like peak of some of my anxiety and panic. My dad being willing to, he was like, hey, like literally like call me, and he texted me I think every day for like a week after maybe I forget if it was after the panic attack or after I was in the hospital, but just making sure that I was okay, and just for all the friends that that were willing to like listen and cared for me the last year. Just just the little things, like you don't know, like, well, I'm getting kind of emotional here, I guess. Like, you don't know what kind of positive impact you're going to have on somebody just for being there for a friend. And I had some really good ones this last year, and I'm appreciative for all of them. Friends, family, and coworkers, and just a lot of people who cared for me, and because it was a tough year. But, some great people to be thankful for, and just again a lot of circumstances to be thankful for and to work through. So it's okay. Everybody says it's okay to not be okay, and that's true, but it's just such a cliche. I just don't like it. But it's true though. It's okay to not be okay. If you need help, like talk about it. Talk to your friends. If you don't have friends, like, which I get, like not everybody does. Again, I'm like teared up over like some of my friends and my family, but it's like, I get that not everybody has that, but like reach out, like somebody, like, and I hope, I just say this very blanket statement, like I would hope that somebody would be there for somebody if they needed it. And I guess that would be an encouragement, right? It's like you don't know. Sometimes it's just like asking a question, like, hey, are you okay? Can go a long way. So, love the people around you. Take care of the people. Yeah. I think this is actually the end now. Yeah. Again, I'm going to edit these two videos together. It's going to be poorly done, but that's okay. Yeah. All right. You Said It Best, Brother is out. I don't remember how I used to end these. I haven't done this in like a month and a half. Or a year and a half. I'll work on it. But anyways, that's it. Peace.